going to take over like a homicide.
After he went down on the ground, there was so much blood in that apartment. And the coroner tells me that there wasn't very much blood at the scene.
While the police were conducting their investigation, Sarah was conducting her own. And this is where a particular name comes into play: Cassandra. We said that Brandon wasn't very lucky when it came to love, and after his breakup he started using dating apps, and with the help of one of them he met Cassandra. It is believed that they started dating somewhere around February 2019. Does this maybe ring some bells? On September the 18th, almost a week after Brandon died, Cassandra messaged Brandon's sister-in-law on Facebook, telling her that she was his girlfriend. She wrote, "Hey, I know you don't know me at all, but you're Brandon Embry's sister, and I was your brother's girlfriend from mid-May until his passing. I met him on a dating app called Hinge. He sent me a text with a crying emoji on Tuesday the 10th, and I haven't heard from him since. And I've been a worried mess since then. He never told me your mom's name, but that he had a sister that was in Kentucky. I found out the hard way yesterday when I went by his apartment at Park Place in Asheboro yesterday evening, and some woman told me he had died. I hope you know how wonderful of a man he was, and that I thought the world of him." Sarah thought it was odd that this girl had contacted them on a day they were cleaning out her son's apartment, looking to get some of his belongings as a reminder. She wondered if the girl had seen them, so she decided to reach out to her the next day via Facebook. After some delay, Cassandra responded about a week after, and they started exchanging messages and talking over the phone. During one conversation, Cassandra told Sarah that she'd been actively calling the police to get information about Brandon. She said that she went to check on him at his apartment, and a neighbor told her that he passed away. She also said that she started screaming and yelling at the neighbor that they'd better not be lying to her. She also said she had to use a cane because she was having a bad day physically because of multiple sclerosis. However, when Sarah spoke with that same neighbor, the neighbor said that Cassandra asked what happened, said okay, thank you, and shook her hand. She then got into her vehicle without any cane and made a phone call. At that point, Sarah knew that Cassandra is definitely a liar, and soon this neighbor thing will only be a tip of the iceberg. On September 28th, Cassandra asked Sarah if Brandon had been found in bed or on the ground. Sarah was stunned. How did Cassandra know that Brandon was in his bedroom? That information had not been released. After messaging for several weeks, Sarah and Cassandra decided to meet in person, and this is where her lies started to unfold like crazy. She told Brandon that she was from Russia. Cassandra is from Farmingdale, Maine, along with her parents and her grandparents. She claimed to have MS, an eating disorder, and obsessive-compulsive disorder. None of this is true. She told stories about her sister dying in a car crash, which gave her PTSD. She also said that she had a baby at 15 that died at 1 year old after getting wrapped in a blanket. She told Sarah that she had been pregnant with Brandon's baby and sent ultrasound photos. Lies just continued to pile up, but the most shocking thing is actually the fact that Cassandra was married and lived with her husband the entire time she knew Brandon. What was actually going on here? Did Brandon have an affair with a married woman? Did he know she was married in the first place? Or was it all just a pile of lies Cassandra made up? Due to the clear connection between Cassandra and Brandon, police decided to take a closer look into this relationship and questioned Cassandra several times. Before her first questioning, Cassandra was freaking out. Not surprisingly, a couple of days later, she failed to go to the police station, claiming she had food poisoning. Now, the next thing you'll hear is the call between Cassandra and Sarah, just a couple of days before she was supposed to go into the police station.
We could talk about anything, anything, and he never, ever cast a judgment on you.
Yeah.
And it sucks to do do it all over again.
Mm-hmm.
I did this 2 months ago, almost to the day that the detective called me.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him everything he needed to know. So if you want to come and sit with me, if you want me to come sit with you, what would you like me to tell you?
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I'm a difficult person to talk to, I don't think.
No. You're very talkative.
But like you, I am.
Yeah.
And I don't like a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I don't know if I go up there and sit down with this human being and be cold and sterile, like my grandpa always told me that I was. I was always cold and sterile to people I didn't like or I didn't trust or I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, honestly, I think you should just go and be yourself and don't make any judgments ahead of time of how you're going to act. Just go and be yourself. And, in the moment when you talk to the detective, I think you will feel okay.
I would hope so. Honest to God, I would
Mm-hmm.
hope so. But I'm such a guarded human.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon could tell you that. I'm
Yeah.
guarded of everybody.
Yeah.
I'm scared of what people will think of me, or they'll judge me, or they'll look at me wrong, or they'll be like, oh, she's a hot mess, or she looks really rough, or she's just a really rough human being.
Now, wait a minute. Could you say that? I'm sorry, I can't hear on my phone very good. Could you say that again?
Like, I wonder what people think of me. Like, I'm a rough human being, and I know that. And I come from a really rough family, and I try to be nice to people.
Mm-hmm.
And Brandon brought out my niceness.
Aw, that's sweet.
He really did. Like, I cried because I'm angry. I cry because I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be this long,
Yeah.
and I get overwhelmed because I tell you things that you don't tell other people. You know what I mean? I keep those things to myself. And
Yeah.
so I tell you those things about our life.
Yeah.
And we have a good life going.
Mm-hmm.
He can't tell these people that.
Yeah.
You can't tell them, like, yeah, she's a good human being. Like, yeah, she could be a little rough around the edges sometimes, but she's a good lady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have a good relationship. She never did anything bad to me. She never hurt me. She never did anything.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
what do they know? Like, what do they know about me and him? Do they know anything? Do they know? If they don't know anything, then you just want to know about him? Is that what they want?
Yeah,
Most of the time, I
probably
don't
just
want it.
questions about him. Um, I,
What did you meet with him?
excuse me.
Did you meet with him recently?
Um, Gosh, I can't remember when it was. I want to say it's been a few weeks, maybe.
Yeah. See, I don't know. Like, I don't have a problem with it. I wish he was here so he could be like, that was my human.
Yes, I wish he was here too. But, he's with you in spirit.
Yeah, I know that. It just sucks so bad. And now I'm freaking the out about a detective. I have nothing to go on. I don't know if he's even trustworthy. That's my thing. Like, if I open myself up to you, then that's a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
dude.
from my from what I gather, I think he's trustworthy. I don't think there's something you're going to say that, is he's going to be offended by. I think just he's just trying to find out answers about Brandon.
Cassandra went to the interrogation, but detectives didn't manage to extract any important information because a large percentage of her messages and calls mysteriously disappeared from her phone. She thought that was it and walked off with a smile on her face. Sarah turned her investigation to different sources, and who would be a better source than Cassandra's soon-to-be ex-husband, Danny. Danny was willing to cooperate fully, and because of him, we were able to find out insight on Cassandra firsthand. According to Danny, their marriage was, to say the least, very strange, mostly because of erratic behavior from his wife. After initial years when things were all in place, by 2019 they were different. They actually had separate bedrooms, and she would often disappear for varying periods of time, sometimes for a night, sometimes even a month. In addition, she was carrying a couple of burner phones, which is very strange. Why would a normal person change numbers frequently? But the whole thing got even stranger when Danny started to share some of their personal stories. One time they went on a hiking trip, and Danny remembers that he felt really weak and fatigued, and most of the time that was happening when he was with Cassandra. And after hearing about Brandon's death, he started to connect some dots. His morning routine was well known, and he would often pour himself a cup of coffee for when he finishes his morning shower. However, he would always hear Cassandra getting up after him while he was in the bathroom. He would later feel exhausted pretty much all day. One time he even had a car accident, ending up in a ditch by the road due to blacking out. But the problem was that he wasn't sleepy. At that point, Danny believed that Cassandra is poisoning him. Now, this would maybe sound a little bit crazy if there wasn't another person who had exact same problems. Cassandra's ex-boyfriend, who wished to stay anonymous, told Sarah that the same thing happened to him with the same symptoms while he was in a relationship with Cassandra. He felt very sick, got nausea and vomited. Not only that, but he claimed that she even used his phone to text other people pretending to be him, as well as gain access to his finances. I have a full recorded phone call between him, his current wife and Sarah to confirm these statements. But there are some other shocking stories as well, so listen very carefully.
Okay, so Melissa just said that she had found you and that she was telling me that is it your husband that dated Cassandra?
Yep.
Do you know when that was?
We tried to do a timeline. The best I could come up with is he broke up with her somewhere around 2012.
Okay. So it sounds like maybe before she married who she's with now, or I don't know if they're still together or not.
I'm not sure if she's married to anybody.
Because she was mine.
Because she used to tell everybody she was married. They never got married.
Okay. And that was something that I noticed too, that we couldn't find an actual marriage certificate, so that was in question. Some states allow common law marriage and some don't.
Yeah. But I don't think in Maine they were even together long enough, because I think that's like 5 years for common law, and they were only together for around 3.
Okay. And then did she take his name? She said that they were married, but did she start using his last name?
Yeah,
she started using it, but I don't know how that works where they were never married. But I know she used to try to cash checks even though she wasn't married to him, and they let her cash them.
Without his permission?
Correct.
Okay, so was that something like he was doing?
I was on an offshore boat. I were home, and I'd leave my check there, and she'd tell me she cashed it.
Why don't you say that to her instead of me, honey?
Hello.
Hi.
I used to work on an offshore boat, so she'd tell my bank that she was married to me, but she weren't on my account or nothing. I used to go on like 2-day trips out on an offshore boat. And then I'd come off the offshore boat, and she'd tell me how she cashed my check for me, had the bank let her cash it.
Wow.
So that went on, like, I'd say she probably cashed, I want to say like 5 or 6 checks before I actually called my bank to for her to stop doing that, so they wouldn't let her do that.
Okay.
It's like I told them I wasn't married to her or nothing, so I don't know why she was allowed to cash my checks.
Right. And
Of course, the bank was all apologizing and trying to figure out why she was doing it too.
to be honest, I'm just going to speculate here, but, you know, with the situation with my son, she would talk about how they were going to open a bank account together. She might have been seeing how much she could get away with of taking your name, cashing your checks.
I think so, because when she left, out on an offshore boat, and she took off with $2,500.
Really?
Yeah.
I told her I was going to call the cops, and then she jumped state. Supposedly she left. I never called the cops, but supposedly she left state.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you a question on that note? Would she do things and then say that she was leaving? This constantly went on with my son. My son would get very sick. I think she was poisoning him, and then she would do something and then say that she was leaving and going to Russia.
Or leaving to go to Russia. I always got, when she'd get fighting with me and stuff like that, she'd say she was going to Staten Island.
Mm-hmm. New York.
That's where she told me she was from, Staten Island.
Oh, so she was from?
That's what she'd always tell me, that she was taken off to Staten Island.
But I know he tried to kick her out. And when he tried to do that, he called the cops, and they said that he had to give her a 30-day eviction notice.
Oh.
Because she told everybody she was paying rent, but she weren't paying rent, but in court law you had to give her like 30 days to get out.
Yeah.
And she went to a bunch of friends and told them that he was beating on her. In the reality of it, she was hitting him.
Oh.
Because, I mean, I've been married to him for 6 years. I've pissed him off pretty good, and he's never once raised his hand at me.
Right. When she would hit, like, how severe? Was it like she would just get triggered, or was she working?
Yeah, she'd get like agitated over like little things. If you told her you couldn't go out to eat or something, if you ain't got enough money, she'd get like agitated. Start like punching you and stuff.
And I don't know if the two are connected, but my husband had a collapsed lung, and before that happened, she punched him in the chest.
Oh.
So, I mean, she punched him pretty good by the sound.
Oh, wow. Oh.
And she used to tell him stories of how her uncle was in the mafia?
Her uncle was supposed to be mafia.
Yeah, I heard that too, only I heard her family was Russian mafia.
Russian mafia. And that she was married, supposedly she was married to a cop.
Wow.
At one time. His name was, he's from Lewis, and his name's Kevin. I don't know his last name, but she said she's married to a cop at one time and had kids.
Huh.
Mentioned that she had passed him a cigarette once, and it had tasted like there was powder on the end of it.
Mm.
And she got pissed off because he made her stop so he could buy a pack of cigarettes. And she told him it was fine, that she used to dip her cigarettes in bleach and then smoke them.
If you dip your cigarettes in bleach, that will burn your lungs. So anybody in the right state of mind knows that will burn your lungs. So I didn't really think a whole lot about it. I went in and grabbed a pack of cigarettes. So when I was smoking one, then she asked me if she could get one off me, and then she
wouldn't smoke out of the pack that she tried to get him to smoke.
She stuck right underneath the seat.
And he remembers a time she passed him a vitamin water.
It was an open vitamin water. I drank it.
And he got sick.
I got sick. I wasn't feeling too hot at all. Like, right, nausea and stuff, this nausea. sick right to my gut and stuff. Then after that, I told her I was never drinking an open bottle again, and after that, I just went up, made sure every bottle I had was closed, and made sure I grabbed it, not her.
Wow.
Now we have two more people who experienced the same issues as Brandon. Two more people who share their life with Cassandra. Could all this simply be a coincidence? Well, again, a very difficult question, because if you remember, Brandon's problems began somewhere around February 2019, the same time he met Cassandra. We already established that Cassandra, by all means, is not an honest person. We mentioned numerous lies she told Sarah, and Danny and the ex-boyfriend just confirmed how deep she went with them as well, with their stories. Danny also revealed that he often purchased sleeping pills for her, the same ones that were found in Brandon's apartment. She even suggested to Sarah that Brandon could have died by suicide using sleeping pills. In many conversations and messages Sarah exchanged with Cassandra, we can find many of them which sound particularly strange. However, one time Cassandra told Sarah that she had a dream about Brandon's death scene and him laying in the bathroom naked, to which Sarah wondered, was this actually a dream or maybe a recollection? With all these facts, we can also gain insight into her personality, like the people she was in contact with. She actually wrote back and forth with a couple of guys that are in prison, and some of them are doing time because of very disturbing crimes, including child pornography. I presume one of the main questions we have to ask here is, if Cassandra is involved in some kind of way, why reach out to Sarah and the family in the first place? Why risk giving something up? Perhaps she wanted information to be ahead of the investigation, or perhaps she wanted to see up close the pain caused by his death. Or maybe she even had some secret delight knowing that she was getting away with everything. We cannot say that for sure, but one thing we can conclude with certainty at this point is that the Asheboro Police Department definitely didn't do their job well on this case. And it's not for the fact that this case is still by many unsolved, but the fact that they didn't put as much effort into finding the actual answers. We already saw what was their reason for closing the case, but they neglected many other factors that are playing a big role here. Detective Johnson, who was very supportive of her drug theory, also said that Brandon abused anabolic steroids because of all of the needles that were found at the crime scene. However, as we said, Brandon had a prescription for hormones to address his low testosterone production and was overseen by a doctor. So we can conclude that heart failure or some other complication due to steroids is very unlikely. A significant number of clues were left out uninvestigated for no reason. And the worst part is that the Asheboro police, upon closing the case, decided to destroy all forensic evidence that was collected. Sarah was so eager to go with her investigation to the end that she even hired a private investigator with forensic experience. She also still waits for the phone records to be released, and due to the fact the case is closed, there is no valid reason for the police to hold them back, but for some unknown reason, they still do. Brandon Embry was a healthy man in his early 30s, a man who liked to live his life out of the spotlight, and a man who was very loved by his family. On September the 13th, his life ended and left so many unanswered questions behind. Questions on which his mother works day and night in the hope that someday she will know the real truth.